Good evening. Welcome to the National News Broadcast. I'm Kasuni Balachandra.
Hello there. Good evening. I'm Niket Karnaratna. We'll start off with the headlines as usual. The country is reopened with travel restrictions. Vaccination of children with special needs commences. The WHO says that insufficient vaccination is the reason for the coronavirus spread in Africa. The marginal cash deposit imposed on many imported goods has been removed. Seizing of vehicles and auctioning of properties due to non-payment of installments is suspended for 6 months. Teachers commit themselves for children amidst the strike. Yohani sings on stage in an Indian music show. On to those and other stories in detail. Today is National Children's Day. The theme of this year is Children Before Everything. The national ceremony took place throughout today at the main studio of the Rupavahini Corporation with the participation of a group of children and parliamentarians. At the World Summit on Children's Welfare in 1925, it was announced that a day should be allocated to celebrate the World Children's Day. It was decided in 1954 to select a date for the purpose. Accordingly, various countries use various days to mark the occasion, but Sri Lanka celebrates it on the 1st of October.
Sri Lankaවේ දරුවන් වෙනුවෙන් වෙන්වනු විශේෂ
The National Day ceremony took place under the patronage of Minister Dinesh Gunawardena, State Ministers Susil Premajayant, P.L. Nishantha and Sita Arambepola. It was organised by the State Ministry of Education and Probation and Childcare Department. Only a limited number of children took part due to the pandemic. Apart from that, the national television telecast several programs today on behalf of the children.
අඳුරට දොස් කිය ඉන්නවට වඩා අපි සූදානම් වෙන්නට ඕනේ අපේ දරුවන්.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa says that the government's priority task is to provide the children all the hopes they lost amidst the COVID crisis in a secured manner. The president has emphasized this in his message in connection with the World's Children's Day. There are limits to the hopes and aspirations of the children's world due to the global pandemic. The classrooms and playgrounds are distant. The president has said that all plans are implemented to make the children's world closer to them. The message of the president also states that the Vistas of Prosperity statement is making a reality to create a safe environment to the children and to provide them with necessary services and facilities. He has requested the elders to allow the children to move in their world as they wish. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa in his message says that the beauty of the country, the world and the future of the world depends on the children. The world of the children is more beautiful than of the elders. It is the responsibility of elders to allow them to experience that beauty without obstacles. The government is committed to ensure rights of the children always. The Prime Minister has said that they believe a knowledgeable generation of children will light up the darkness in the future. The Prime Minister has pointed out that the government considers it is a victory for being able to make it mandatory to attend schools and to amend several acts preventing child domestic service. He has requested parents and elders to look after the children, preventing mental pressure on them during the pandemic when they are at home.
Today is also World Elders Day. The United Nations declared the 1st of October as the World Elders Day in 1990. The National Elders Secretariat says that Sri Lanka's elderly population has reached nearly 3 million. The government has paid its attention on introducing regulations for the security and welfare of the elders and to implement a national health policy for elders. The government took steps to give priority to vaccinate elders during the COVID-19 vaccination program. Accordingly, 8,806 elders at 349 elder homes have been vaccinated so far. Waligama Pradeshya Sabha felicitated today the most senior citizen in the country. Kankanamge Dingiriyamma, who is 115 years of age and living at Veligama Kankevatta area, was presented with the Diryamata Award. It was presented by Chairman of Veligama Pradeshya Sabha, Pushpakumara Bettage. Nearly 550 elderly beggars in the Ratnapura town were given food, clothing and COVID vaccines today at the Ratnapura Police Headquarters. Ratnapura Mayor Thiron Attanayaka implemented the programme.
The central bank has decided to allocate 15,000 million rupees to minimize the damage caused to small and medium-scale entrepreneurs by the COVID pandemic. The amount will be utilized to pay arrears of the interests for loans they have taken from financial institutions. Meanwhile, the central bank has informed all financial organizations not to seize vehicles for not paying installments and not to auction properties for the next 6 months. Governor of the central bank, Ajit Niwad Cabral, expressed views today launching the new economic plan for the next 6 months. The aim of the new economic program is to maintain the country's economy systematically and in a proper manner amidst the COVID pandemic. Diplomats, heads of financial organizations, entrepreneurs and economic experts were present at the launching ceremony. The governor said that support of all stakeholders is needed for the country of the program. The central bank has also decided to immediately suspend the marginal cash deposit imposed on non-essential and non-urgent imported goods.
We are today removing the cash margin requirements on the non-essential and non-urgent imports that will be lifted from today. But we request and invite the importers to act responsibly and only import what is necessary as well as their requirements, and unnecessarily not to build up their inventories as we go along. The central bank would also provide support as well as do certain actions in the next 6 months. First of all, we want to see that the moratoria is unwinded gradually, not a sudden way. It has to be a soft landing. So we want to make sure that the lockdown effect, because it is being felt by so many businesses, that the central bank will advise the financial system as well as the sector to indulge in that in a gradual fashion. And we would also provide liquidity, because we find that a lot of the businesses will now have to pay the old loans plus the old interest, the new loans, the new interest, and that can be sometimes very, very challenging. We will work out the modalities in due course. As you know, these plans were put together in a very short period of time because we wanted to give the clarity to the markets, but we would work out a scheme whereby we could provide that clarity as to how this would be implemented, but we are committing the funds so that we can provide that comfort to those businesses that are going to be over a period of next few months having to now grapple with the need to be paying back those loans that they had taken as well as the loans for which they have already got a moratorium for. So that would be something that we would be doing. And during that period, we would put an emergency lending facility framework in place. We would immediately suspend the Parate execution. We would like banks to follow that, and the forced repossession of leased assets up to 31st of March 2022 for the next 6 months, because we are recognizing that special circumstances has made it imperative that we provide that space, and during that period we would like the banks not to go through that process but to have other methods to persuade the payment but not to resort to that. We would be implementing a comprehensive plan to deal with the 6 failed finance companies and actively pursue the revival of those could be revived with new investment. We will also ask all banks to have post-COVID revival units, because there will be special problems that those businesses will encounter. We have to ensure that those businesses survive, and we would want the banks to hold their hand, work through these difficult periods so that those businesses can survive beyond the COVID pandemic.
The COVID Prevention Special Committee has requested all relevant sectors to monitor whether health guidelines are implemented with the opening of the country. Health authorities have emphasized that it is essential to be cautious not to allow the risk of spreading COVID again, since public gatherings can take place. The Special COVID Prevention Committee met this morning over video technology headed by Minister Basil Rajapaksa. When employees of the state and private sector are called for duties, health guidelines related to transport should be followed. The relevant circulars have been published in the ministry website. The Transport Ministry has planned to operate sufficient number of buses and trains according to the needs of the public. 95% of the population above 30 years has been given both doses of a vaccine. Vaccination of the group between the ages of 20 and 30 and the group between the ages of 12 and 19 is taking place. The COVID Prevention Committee has decided to conduct an extensive census on vaccination. Lengthy discussions took place on the health measures to be taken to promote tourism and economic sectors. Ministers Kehliya Ramukwala, Bandula Gunawardena, Pavitra Vanyarachi, Dallas Alhapperuma, Johnston Fernando, Ramesh Patirana, Prasanna Ranatunga, State Ministers Sudarshini Fernando Pulle, Sisira Jaikori and Chandra Sumana were present on the occasion. MP Madhura Vitanage, Ministry Secretaries, Heads of Security Authorities, Provincial Health Directors, officials and members of the COVID Prevention Committee attended the meeting. Quarantine curfew was imposed in the country on the 20th of August. Although the curfew is lifted, inter-provincial travel restrictions are in place. Travelling between provinces is permitted only for essential services and requirements. Travelling will not be permitted from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. for unessential purposes. Inter-provincial public transport services will not be operated for 2 more weeks. Trade stalls in many areas have been reopened. Our reporters said that people were seen arriving to meet their needs following health protective measures. Buses are being run within the provinces. Private sector organizations are also functioning from today. Employees were seen coming to work with health protective methods. The Public Administration Ministry has issued a set of guidelines to maintain essential services. The head of an organization is empowered to call essential workers for duty. Staff officers should report for duty as usual, and other officials, except for the ones who have been called for duty, should work online. The circular states that if there are unvaccinated officials, they should be encouraged to get the vaccine. All employees and employers should follow health guidelines. The Epidemiology Unit said that vaccination of children between the ages of 12 and 19 with special needs, chronic illnesses and complications is taking place from today, covering the entire island. Vaccination of children between 12 and 13 in the Hambantota district took place today at the Tangol Base Hospital. Vaccination of those children takes place from today at Tissa Maharama, Debaraveva Hospital and Valasmulla Base Hospital. Mrs. Shiranti Vikramasinghe Rajapaksha inspected the vaccination centres. Vaccination of children between the ages of 12 and 19 with special needs and chronic illnesses in the Polonnaruwa district is now taking place. It is also taking place at the Polonnaruwa General Hospital. Vaccination of children with special needs and chronic illnesses commenced today at the Kandy General Hospital. Vaccination of children between the ages of 12 and 19 with special needs and chronic illnesses is also taking place at Lady Ridgeway Children's Hospital in Colombo. 26,298,093 vaccine doses have been given to the people under the COVID vaccination program. 14,524,408 have been given the first dose of a vaccine. 11,773,685 have been given both doses of a vaccine. 644 COVID patients were found from the country today. 47,477 are undergoing medical treatment. 597 have recovered from the virus. Accordingly, 458,085 have recovered from the virus so far. The Director General of Health Services reported today 58 COVID-related deaths which occurred yesterday. 48 of them are more than 60 years of age. 10 of them are between the ages of 30 and 59. It is essential for Sri Lankans and foreigners to follow quarantine regulations when they arrive in the country.
Deputy Director General of Health Services Dr. Hemantha Herath says that although the country is open from today, all health guidelines should be followed as earlier.
Today, we know that as far as COVID control activities are concerned, it's a special day because after a long period of travel restrictions and so-called quarantine curfew and so-called lockdown, now government has issued guidelines to relax certain restrictions that were imposed in the past and allowed the citizens of this country to carry out many of their social and economic activities. However, we know that situation is not 100% perfect, and therefore we have still very high risk of spreading the COVID-19 disease among the people, and also if it is going beyond certain limit, a risk of imposing strict travel restrictions in the future also always there. To mitigate this and reduce the such risk of country going into a bad situation in future, it is the responsibility of all citizens of country to behave in a responsible manner, so that there will be no room for the spread of this disease, for which the health ministry has issued relevant guidelines, and it is the responsibility of all citizens of this country, irrespective of their positions or any other social status or any other parameters that you may name. Everyone's responsibility is to adhere to the stipulated health guidelines and ensure that there will be no more risk of going back to the previous difficult situations that the country faced in the past few weeks. So therefore, we would like to urge everyone, do nothing but adhere to the health guidelines. That is, maintain the social distance, avoid unnecessarily gathering in public places or any other places where people are likely to gather, wear the face mask all the time correctly, and adhere to the other hygiene measures like hand washing or using antiseptic or sterilizer or something like that, hand sterilizer or similar chemicals, so that you will be supporting or you will giving your responsibility to the nation to prevent the spread of this disease in future.
The World Health Organization and International Council of Nurses have said that only 15 of America's 54 nations have fully been vaccinated, which is 10% of their population against COVID-19. Many frontline health workers remain at risk. The United Nations Health Agency has said that the World Health Organization had called for vaccinating at least 10% of health workers in every country by September 30th. A target met by nearly 90% of high-income countries. They have called for speeding up distribution of doses to those at risk on the continent. Analysis data shows that in Africa, a third approximately of health workers are still waiting for their first dose of vaccine. Only about 10% of health workers have been fully vaccinated. Healthcare workers say that despite the promises, they have not been seeing the delivery, while nurses and health workers are still going to work knowing that they are at a high risk without having the protection of a vaccine.
Psychologists and pediatric specialists say that parents, teachers and others should take the responsibility to prevent students leaving schools due to the pandemic. During a media briefing today, they pointed out that parents should take an interest now itself to send children to schools. Pediatric specialist of the Kalaniya Medical Faculty, Professor Saman Mali Suminisena, said that a considerable number of children have left schools due to the pandemic. She said that the persons who take decisions in the country should look into sending senior students to technical colleges. Small children should be sent to school somehow. The teachers should give space to children to get used to the environment since they're coming back after some time to schools.
පොඩි ළමයි ගත්තහම ඒගොල්ලන්ව පාසලට කොහොම හරි යවන්න උනන්දු කරන්න ඕනේ. එතකොට ඒක මේ පැන්ඩමික් එකකින් හින්දා අපිට වැටෙන්න දෙන්න බෑ. අත්දැකීම් ටික කාලෙකින් නොලැබිච්ච දරුවෝ තමයි දැන් පාසලට යන්නේ. එතකොට පාසලට ගියාම ඒගොල්ලන් ටිකක් වෙනස් හැසිරීම් සමහරට අලුතෙන් ඇති වෙයි. එතකොට මේ පණිවිඩය ගුරුවරුන්ට ඒක නැවත ගොඩනගා ගැනීමට දරුවන්ට අවස්ථාව දෙන්න.
Community health specialist of the Child and Family Health Bureau, Dr. Asiri Hevamalage, said that grade 1 children could not go to school in 2019 and 2020. It is the responsibility of parents to prepare the children to go to school. She said that they should speak with the children and make them prepared to go to school.
විස්තර කියලා ඒගොල්ලෝ දැනුවත් කළා පෙර සූදානමකින් යුතුව දරුවව පාසලට යවුවොත් සෞඛ්‍ය පුරුදු නිසියාකාරව ක්‍රියාත්මක කරමින් දරුවන්ට පාසල තුල හැසිරීමට අවශ්‍ය ශක්තිය ලැබෙනවා.
Chairman of the National Fundamental Studies Institute, Professor Atula Sumatipala, said that the home environment should make a change in the attitude, preventing hopelessness of children affected by the prevailing situation. Parents, teachers and other social activists should make change in behavior of the children. The commitment of a majority has been suppressed by activities of a group of a minority at present. Health authorities say that more attention should be paid on sending children to schools securely when schools could be opened. They mentioned this during a media briefing today at the Health Promotion Bureau.
A report on a group of teachers has been reported from Mathura, Valigama, Benepitia area, who is trying to beautify the children's world when there is a struggle to win demands by engaging in an online strike.
පවුලේ ඥාතීන්ගේ පදයක් බහුවචනයට හරවනවා අදාළ පදේ අගට මා කියන කොටස එකතු කරගම අම්මා අම්මලා වෙනවා.
ටීචර් ලියන විදියට මගේ පුතාලා දූලා ලස්සනට ලියන්න ඕන.
More than 3,000 students are learning under these teachers to provide education free of charge for children online for about 7 months. 23 teachers are teaching from the primary to the grade 10, covering the school syllabus. The teachers say that they will continue teaching despite any obstacles. The parents say that the commitment of the teachers when there are obstacles to school education should be highly commended.
Media Minister Dallas Alaha-Perumal says that all steps will be taken to empower journalists and to strengthen the media field. The minister mentioned this during a discussion with Sri Lanka Editors Guild. Preliminary measures have been launched to establish a higher education institute to develop professional skills of journalists. The Editors Guild said that all sectors, including doctors and lawyers, have such an institution. Educational qualifications, period of service, training and experience are scheduled to be considered when converting a journalist into a chartered journalist. It was announced that one person representing the Editors Guild can be included in the committee to establish a higher media institution. Minister Dallas Alaha-Perumal pointed out that the views of the Editors Guild are needed to amend the Press Council Act. The Editors Guild said that the separate mechanisms are needed for social and electronic media. The minister assured that the journalists will not be inconvenienced in future by calling on to CID. 2,000 media circles are scheduled to be set up in schools. Minister Alaha-Perumal said that insurance for journalists will be streamlined and 3,000 of them will be insured in the next 3 months. The minister requested them to be sensitive on the problems related to disabled community and the media use about them. The editors agreed to the request.
The Attorney-at-Law, Janaprith Fernando, has assumed duties today at the 21st Commissioner of Sri Lanka Scouts Association. He has received the President's Medal in 1985 while at St. Thomas College, Bambalapitia. He is a Scout leader who has received the Lee Medal, which is a Scouting degree considered as the highest medal. He has been the Assistant Commissioner of Colombo Scout Range and District Commissioner in 2005. He has also been the International Commissioner of Sri Lanka Scout Association and Deputy Commissioner of the Association in 2016 up to now. Yohani De Silva, who won the hearts of hundreds of thousands of not only Sri Lankans but also foreign nationals, including Indians, by a song Manik Mage Hite, held a first Indian show successfully yesterday. Meanwhile, Indian social media said that the Indian government has appointed Yohani as a cultural ambassador for Sri Lanka and India. Indian websites gave wide publicity when Yohani reached New Delhi for her Indian tour. Photographs were published on the way she was entering India from New Delhi airport with the 9-member band. The first live show took place at Gurugam Exobar studio. Bollywood actors and singers joined the program, which commenced at 9 p.m. This is the first time where a Sinhala song that won the hearts of the fans in India was sung at a music show in the Indian capital. The second show of Yohani is scheduled to be held on Sunday in Hyderabad. Hot Cup Coffee Studio at Gachibowali has been selected for the show. A frontline Indian music company, Windman, is organizing the show. This company manages many famous Bollywood actors. Yohani has already entered Bollywood cinema. She has sung the theme song to Siddharth, a Hindi film. Media reports say that more doors to Bollywood cinema and international art fields are opening for her. 129 million have watched her Manik Mage Hite song on her YouTube channel. Meanwhile, Indian media say that the social media reports which said Yohani has been appointed as the cultural ambassador are false. Meanwhile, the street singer Ranu Mondal, who received wide publicity over social media in India several years ago, has also released videos singing Manike Mage Hite in Sinhala. Ranu Mondal's songs, which were sung on a platform at a railway station, were circulated hundreds of thousands of times over social media for several years.
Everything is fair in love and war and song.
Okay. तुझको बना दूं मैं अपना खुदा और सजदे तेरे
तलवती वतना और प्रेम का पटलना वनारी मनहारी सुकुमारी उमतमा.
That's all the news for today. Join us again at the same time tomorrow. Good night.
Good night.